All right, guys, and we are live. Apologies for the delay. I was just having some issues with my microphone, but I think I'm good now. I've got a backup one here. So if you can't hear me, please let me know. But wow, I'm about to bring my man Cody up to chat through this one. We've only got about 20 minutes to go for today's show, but wow, I'm shaking. The Pistons beat the Hawks 122-121, and I'm going to bring up my man Cody now to chat through it. What's going on, man?
Oh, I finally got the heart rate down, so that's good.
Oh man, I was shaking. I don't know. Floor is yours. There's like Cade Cunningham. I think we just have to start there. This was a frustrating game at times, but we just have to start with Cade. Thoughts on those final two plays? Talk us through your emotions and just yeah.
Well, um, when I'll go back a couple plays before that because when Cade forced that bounce pass with one hand across the court to Malik Beasley, I'm lucky I have a soft couch in my apartment because I was punching that thing so hard, just slamming my fist because I was like, that's what we do. That's what we
Yeah.
do. Like that's gonna come back to haunt us. And of course, you're gonna wide open three, yada yada. But the last two plays by Cade, obviously, I mean that's what he has to do. That's what he has to do in those situations. He has to come up clutch for this team. Um, and I mean, fair play to him. He closed it out tonight. Um, just despite I think, kind of being one of the reasons why they got let back into the game as well. So obviously, incredible plays on both ends. Um, that hook shot was insane difficulty. Very, 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 very few players probably make that in the league. That's a really tough shot. Yeah, I'm super happy with Cade's overall night. There were times that were spotty. Obviously, some bad turnovers still, but I mean, the offense was humming in the first quarter. It was all because of Cade. He's making the right pass every time. People were hitting open shots. And then you saw, like, when he was out of the game, how stagnant the offense got at times. So I mean those on off stats don't lie with him and Ivy on the court, and then with just Ivy or with just Cade, it gets pretty ugly when they're not both on the floor. So yeah, I think it was a great overall game by Cade. I'm giving him some grace in the turnovers tonight because obviously when you do that at the end of the game, you get some grace.
Yeah, for sure. Like that pass, I couldn't believe it, but I was also like, this is what we do. But like, that's what I'm just in shock they won because as soon as Trey Young got Stu up off the ground there and went to the free throw line to put them up, I think 121-120. I just kept saying to my girlfriend, they're gonna lose. They're gonna lose. I was like, I'm sorry to be negative. I'm normally not like this, but I was like, they're losing this. I can't like this team. And then to just see what unfolds following that, Cade, like you said, that lefty like hook shot, I'm gonna call it, over two defenders, like that was insane that went down. And then to get the game-winning block, which I mean, I was so scared they were going to call a foul, even though that was such a clean block. Man, that's crazy. And just like I know this is a Pistons podcast show, but Dyson Daniels, my goodness,
He's a dog. He's a
like
complete savage.
shout out to my fellow Aussie, but 8 steals tonight. Anytime he was near the ball, it just felt like he was getting it. Like that was insane. Yes, Cade. I think how many turnovers did Cade have again? Like 6.
Yeah, it was above five for sure. I know that.
Yeah. But I think just for Cade to close that, like after last game, after some of the fourth quarters, he's still got to continue to do this. But that was huge. And yeah, I'm shocked they won because like I think we were DMing in the first quarter, and you were like, Jack, this team, and they were like, they can't lose, and then 25 points just evaporates, and yeah, but I don't know, man. Back,
Yeah,
I'm all over
I
the
mean,
place.
I mean that's the frustrating part for me is like this game should have been a non-sweat. You could clearly tell that Atlanta like didn't care to be there tonight, which happens in the NBA all the time. Like teams are just like, okay, we're out of it. We can't come back. Like the Cavaliers were beating the Warriors by 41 today at halftime.
Yeah.
Like this stuff happens all the time in the NBA. Like I was thinking, okay, Atlanta's just going to pack it in. Like they'll obviously still play, but they're not. They're not going to compete that hard. And then the end of that second quarter, we just breathed life back into them.
Yeah.
Like I feel like if that second quarter ends and we're still 22 or something, the game at the end is not even. It's not even close. It's probably a 12 to 14 point win, honestly, because the psychological difference between being down 5 possessions versus being down 7 or 8 is a big deal, especially with the Pistons were playing on offense. So obviously frustrating. And then I'll just bring it up now to get my last negative point out of the way. So I do want to be positive. Got to hit free throws. You got to hit free throws.
Oh,
And that's the thing. It's not even Stu missing or guys like
no.
you would give a pass. Tim Hardaway missed 2. Fontecchio missed 2. Malik Beasley missed 2. Cade missed 1. Ivy missed 3 or
I
4.
missed like 4 or 5, man. He was 2 or
Yeah.
6 at one stage. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like these are your guys that you would expect to hit free throws. And
Yeah.
guess what? Like, and yes, the Hawks, I think the Hawks shot 15 or 16 of 21. So they missed 5 as well. But you can't miss 10 or 11 free throws most nights. Like the margins are too thin for this team. So I don't know what they have to do to get that corrected, especially when Ivy's shooting 41% from deep and it seems he can't buy a free throw. It just doesn't click. It doesn't make sense. And like Fontecchio, great shooter. Malik Beasley stepping up and missing 2 in a row. Like that kind of stuff can't happen. But that's my last negative for the night. I'm being positive from here on out.
No, it was like obviously the finish was, that was crazy. That was positive. But that game, that's the most frustrating game I've watched this season. I don't know. I just the emotions and I just cannot emphasize like you said, when Cade had that turnover, but then when Trae Young put them ahead, I was like, they're done. They are done. So I think it's fair to point out negatives tonight because that game was exciting. I'm happy they won, but wow, it was far from a perfect game. Like the Hawks were horrible in that first quarter and a half.
Yeah, and I even tweeted that I was like they won and I'm still not happy because that's a team that's a game that any team that's above average, it's not even close. Like so, obviously, watching this, like, I really do think they have turned the corner and they are a much better team. At the same time, on the flip side, like they're still not a good team. They're still not a good team, and you, I don't think anybody expected them to be. I certainly didn't. I predicted I don't know 28 or 30 wins, but in that range. So obviously still not a good team. That's only a 375 or 400 winning percentage, somewhere in that range. But I mean, again, like I say this every stream, if a couple games go a little differently, the Pistons could be third in the Eastern Conference right now. Like that's how crazy it is. Like I just saw a stat from Stats Muse. The only teams in the Eastern Conference that have more wins than the Pistons are the Cavs and the Celtics.
Yeah.
That's how bad the East has been. So it's like the Pistons, as good as this one feels, and they could have gave themselves some grace for the play-in if they would have just won a couple more games. Like if they were 6-4 right now, they're their best record in the East.
So the Pistons right now are 8th in the East, 4-6. They are a game behind the Knicks, who are in the 3 spot.
Yeah.
The East is a mess right now, but that's, like you said, if 2 games go a different way, the Pistons are 3rd in the East.
Yeah, I mean, even if they just win that Charlotte game, forget the Pacers game, forget the Celtics game, whatever. Even if they just win that game, they're 5-5, and a lot of the East is under 500, like a lot of it. So it's like, you got to feel good about how they're playing. And I mean, the only bad thing is the Rockets are getting absolutely drilled by the Thunder right now. So I'm sure coming in Sunday, they're not going to be happy. I'm sure they're not going to be happy.
But that's why this win was so crucial. And this is why, on the start of the week, I just had this game circled as a must win. Like they had to get this one because Charlotte, they should have won that. That was, we spoke after that game. I don't need to go over that. But because like you said, now the Rockets, like that's a tough out. Doesn't matter where the game's played. Doesn't matter who's in out for them. Like that's going to be a tough game. So just to get that win tonight, I think is huge for that game on Sunday.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, and I guess just to talk about more positives of the game, got to give it up for Tobias.
Yeah.
Tobias was super clutch in the fourth quarter. He hit a bunch of huge shots. I think he was around 50% from three tonight. On decent volume. I think he probably shot 5 or 6.
And he hit 2 corner threes. Sorry to cut you off. And one of them was very crucial in that fourth quarter. I did not think he was going to make it.
Yeah, I mean, Tobias was really good tonight. And I tweeted at you earlier. If we can get that Tobias 75% of the time, like this team can compete on a night-to-night basis with 85% of the league. Like, there's still going to be teams that are really like the Celtics, the Cavs. Those teams are just really tough matchups. They're just better than the Pistons. But like anybody between, let's say, 8th best team to 30th, they can compete with on any night. They're good enough to do that.
No, they really are. So as you mentioned, Tobias actually went 5 of 8 from 3 tonight. So
wow, he shot more than I knew he was right around 50%, but I didn't know how many he actually got up.
So he had 22, and then Malik Beasley also had 22.
A very sneaky 22.
So, and that's something you've been big on is 2 of those 3 vets have got to step up. You need, like, for the Pistons to have a shot, they've got to step up. I feel like you've said that every stream.
And the weird thing was the guy who's been really, really good the whole year so far, Tim had an off game. Yeah. So it's like, well, I mean, I don't care which 2 of the 3. We get it from every night. We just need 2 of them.
No, absolutely. I thought, and like Hardaway, 7 points, but he only took 4 shots. So like, you probably want him shooting more in 30 minutes, but it's not like he was 1 of 9 or something. Like, he had one kind of shot I didn't like. It was like a turnaround mid-range, but yeah, you get 44 points out of Tobias and Malik Beasley. And yeah, I agree. Beasley's 22 was quiet, but it wasn't. He was talking a bit with Trae Young, and I was hoping he would quieten down because then Trae Young went on a heater. Beasley missed 2 free throws, but 22 points from Beasley's huge because I think he'd had a couple of bad games in a row, or just
And I think with Tim tonight, what was more frustrating was the defensive end, which we know he's not a great defender, but like Trae was really cooking him bad when he was on him. I mean, it's a tough cover for anybody, but it looked particularly rough when Tim was on him. And I think that's probably why they went away from Tim guarding him and went more towards Malik, because Malik was at least getting him to pick up the ball and more than Tim was. But yeah, I mean, Tobias and Malik were really good tonight. And obviously Cade was good. I think those are the big 3. I think Fontecchio was quietly pretty good.
Yeah. He had 11. He was solid.
Would have liked to see him finish that and 1 opportunity because he didn't get hit very hard. And then of course he missed the 2 free throws.
Yeah.
So that's like, it's a 4-point swing essentially because not only do you not make the basket, then you miss the 2 free throws. A 4-point swing on 1 possession when you really didn't get hacked very hard and it was actually a pretty easy lefty lay-in. That would have been nice, but like that's nitpicking him. I thought he was more confident, and definitely more dialed in. I thought that was big. And then outside of that, I mean, those are my big positives. I mean, Ivy was fine. I just don't understand his whistle and Cade's whistle. I don't get that they get hit so hard in the lane, and it's like we don't care. We're not calling it. Meanwhile, Trey can be a foul merchant like always, like he's always been. And do that stupid, I'm going to get around you, then I'm going to stop and shoot a jumper and jump into you like an idiot, like Harden does all the time too. And he gets all the calls when I thought the NBA made it a point of emphasis to get rid of that. I thought that was done, but Trey got 2 of them tonight. It's like, get that out of basketball. That's not basketball.
No, I don't mind watching, like Trae Young is a fun player to watch, but there's like 40% of his game that it's just like, I can't. But some of his passes, man, like, I don't know how he sees some of this stuff. Like, I think Cade's a pretty good playmaker, but like, Trey Young and Dyson Daniels as a backcourt. That's pretty fun. But yeah, some of the passes Trey got off is like insane. But yeah, he's frustrating to watch. And look, I'm with you. I think those were the big three for sure. Harris, Cade, and Bees. I want to talk about. I mean, do we want to talk about the bigs? No, is there anything to add? Like, I thought Stu was fine, missed an easy layup, which really hurt.
I thought they were fine, and
Yeah.
also I think the rebounding problem was more on the guards. The guards and forwards were not crashing the glass tonight at all. Like Stu was on an island with Clint Capella so much, and Clint Capella is a great rebounder. He always has been since he got into the NBA. The guy averages double-digit rebounds a game every year. Like that's the guy that you have to have help keeping out the glass, especially when Stu's giving up size. Like, and I honestly don't think the guards crashed hard enough. On the defense side of the ball. And I think that was a huge reason why the Hawks got back in it, because they started to get more second chances. It led to a couple wide open Trae Young threes. And I'm pretty sure one got kicked out to Johnson as well. But yeah, you got to have help down there in a game where you have a big like Clint Capella. Like he's a big physical player who's gonna attack the glass.
Yeah, I agree. Like there's only Paul Reed and Stu, like there's only so much they can do at 6'9" when you got Clint Capella, who, yeah, even at this age, he's just huge. Like, and he's a great rebounder. Derek Brown here, some love for Cody. This was earlier. This wasn't about the point you were just making. This is earlier.
That's
shout
fair.
out to you, Derek. I'm going to get to some more comments in a minute, guys, but I've probably only got another 5 to 10 minutes, so I will get to the comments before we wrap up. There was one stage I want to talk about in that fourth quarter where Cade was out of the game, and I think the Pistons were maybe up 5 when he went out. They got up by 7, but then that 7-point lead evaporated, but they could not get him in the game because they only had one timeout left. And I don't think Cade and Stu checked in till there was like 2 minutes left. What was going through your head at that stage? Because I was losing it, because Ivy, like, bless Ivy, like I think his handles improved, but Dyson Daniels was just... There was 3 straight possessions where the Hawks just scored, and I was just like, they're gonna lose.
I'm not gonna lie. I was rooting for a foul just to get him back in the game. Like they weren't the Hawks were not in the bonus. Yeah. I was just rooting, like whoever has the least fouls on the court, when your guy touches the ball, hack him before he shoots and get Cade and Stu in the game, please. Because yeah, to your point, I knew they couldn't take the timeout. They but that's another thing that really needs to be fixed, and that's one gripe I have about JB. He goes into these late game situations with very few timeouts always.
Yeah.
And I get it, like you want to stop runs and stuff, but like at some point you have to. I forget who I was watching the other night in a really close game. Who was it? It was a tight game. Maybe Celtics Warriors. And they like both teams had timeouts left down the stretch. And like those are key for executing in those pivotal moments. Or stopping a run at the last, like, part of me says in the third quarter, just like if you want to get a guy in or out, like if you want to stop the run, it's one thing, but if you want to get a guy in or out, just take a foul. Like, and instead of wasting a timeout, like, I get some of those runs were bad in the third quarter, but like, you got to find a way to keep some of those timeouts late.
Yeah. No, I agree. I'll be honest, like, I honestly haven't noticed it, but like I'm with you for sure, and I'm sure, like I just literally haven't like checked the timeouts too often in these late games. But yeah, tonight it was so obvious, like he burned his timeouts too early. I do love though, and I thought this was key. I can't remember if it was at the end of the first half or the end of the third, but he subbed in Cade with like 10 seconds to go. I think it was the end of the third. The Pistons were up 7.
And Cade hit a 3.
Cade drew 2 and then kicked it to
Beef
and hit the 3.
Yeah.
And I just thought, I love that. He's done that a few times this season where he'll check in Cade and Tobias, or mainly Cade. And I just think that's something we definitely didn't see last season. Like, so yeah, some of the timeout stuff is, needs to be cleaned up. But I like how he's doing that. Like he knows how pivotal it is. Like the difference between going up 7 to 10, I think like they don't get that 3 at the end of the third. Who knows how they start like that fourth quarter. So I like that he's doing that.
Yeah, and I think his rotations are getting cleaner. I think his rotations are getting cleaner. He's pulling the right strings for the most part. Tonight was obviously just a weird game where I think like maybe he felt too comfortable too early, and he's like, "Oh, I can go more to my bench, give Cade a rest," and then they kind of chipped away more. And he probably should have been more aggressive about getting Cade back in the game. I know he played a lot of minutes in the first half, but we're trying to like stop that run a little bit in the second quarter. But he's finding the buttons to push with this team, and obviously he's getting them a lot out of them defensively. Overall, now tonight the Hawks scored 97 points in 2.5 quarters, so that's obviously not good. But you know, besides tonight, really, I thought their defense has been pretty good. So I think he's obviously doing a much better job than Monty Williams. Like there's no debating that. And I think there's still room for improvement, but I think he's got this team really buying in and playing hard. I mean, even people who cover nationally, cover like national news syndicates, are starting to give the Pistons credit,
Yeah.
saying, "Hey, they're playing much harder. They look more engaged. They look more connected," which I think is a direct reflection of JB.
Yeah.
So I'm happy overall with what he's done so far.
Yeah, I think to be 4-6, I think, like you said, they like we were saying, they could be third in the East if they just win one more game or two. I guess, do you have any other thoughts just on this game in particular before I just zoom out a little bit to close the show?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like I said already, and I'll reiterate, like that's a game that you can't let it get to that point. But people are trying to remind me on Twitter because I am very negative sometimes, and I even I tweeted after the game I'm still not happy with that win. This team is still finding a way to win. Like they've done so much losing
Yeah.
that like yes, winning's tough when you've lost forever. But hopefully this game propels them. Whereas I thought the Hawks game could, or not the Hawks game, the Hornets game could send them into a tailspin.
Yeah.
I guess that's my overall takeaway from this game is like they didn't let that game ruin this game.
Yes.
Like I could see being in like Cade's head and Ivy's head being like, we literally just had a lead in Charlotte late. We blew it. Now we had a lead late against the Hawks, and we blew it again.
Yeah.
And they didn't let that happen.
Exactly right. Like, I think that's a great way to kind of wrap up this game is they pretty much, like, the plays were different, but they found themselves in the exact same position. Cade hits a pretty crazy shot, just like Ron Holland got a crazy steal and finished to put them up. And then you find yourself, I think they only had, like, there was 6 seconds left against Charlotte. They missed the rebound. I think there was only 9 seconds left for the Hawks tonight, and they get the block. So I think to bounce back like that in a pretty similar game, like it was a pretty frustrating game, a bit more scoring tonight. But I think it's whilst my heart rate is like, I think it's going to take me another few hours to calm down. I think that's an excellent win, and it's going to be interesting to see how they come out against the Rockets. Yeah, zooming out, we've touched on it a little bit, but they are now 4-6, currently 8th in the East, 1 game back from 3rd. The East is wide open. 2 questions. Is Cade Cunningham an all-star right now? I know it's very early.
I think it's too early to say yes right now because there's obviously the chance. I don't think it's going to happen. So people, please don't come for my head. There's obviously a chance the Pistons could flame out and be back with the Wizards in a month. And then it's like, well, how do you put Cade in the All-Star game when they're floundering still? But I think if the Pistons are in the play-in by the All-Star game, like in that 10 teams,
Yeah.
I think, and he's playing like this, I think you have to give him a nod and put him in.
I think so too. It's very early. Obviously, we've played 10 games, but I think I've been saying he's an all-star, but like I think like tonight, I think he came through, and I think the numbers, I know the turnovers, and even honestly, his shooting overall's dropped off the past 4 or 5 games, even from 3. Like he hit 1 tonight, but I just think kind of you watch the way I know he had 7 turnovers, but the way he kind of has to do so much offensively, especially when Ivy's not out there, just as like pretty much the only pure playmaker on the team. I think I'm with you. Like if they're 11th or definitely 10th, I think he gets the nod if he can keep this up.
Yeah. And one more thing, I think somebody else made a great point. And obviously, you posted how well he's done on primary scores on other teams defensively.
Yeah.
He's carrying a lot of load on that end that he's probably not used to, because I think it goes back to the favorite player that we have that we don't have. If we have a czar, I think this team, because then he can take those matchups and take pressure off of Cade defensively. So I think that would even help him. I mean, maybe with the shot, it's just his legs are a little tired.
Yeah.
Because not gonna lie, if you look across the NBA, the Pistons have played more games than just about anyone. So they've played a lot of games compared to like the Wizards have only played 6 games so far. Like there's other teams that have played a lot less games than the Pistons. So maybe it's just his like the load that's demanded of him on both ends is taking a bit of toll on his lift. But I think overall, Cade's playing well and must be an all-star right now.
So yeah, you touched on it. If Asar can come back, just like this question we got here. Thank you for the question. I think that does help Cade a lot because I mean those numbers I tweeted out, small sample size, but I'm here to push agendas as well. But I still think like even if there's small sample size, like he is taking the team's best wings, not for the whole game, but he's playing a substantial amount of time on these guys. So that's probably taking away from his offense as well.
Because the shots aren't everything. The shots aren't everything. It's right. They're not getting, those guys aren't shooting every possession. So it's like he's on them for substantial amounts of the game. The shots are one thing, small sample size of the shots, but he's guarding these guys for a lot of the game. Like tonight, obviously he's not going to guard Trae Young. That's a bad matchup, but I think he did just fine on Jalen Johnson. I think he was just fine. Who's the previous 3 games? I believe he's averaging 26 points a game. So
no, I think it's a great point. I think this team. I don't know why I'm laughing. They give me a heart attack. They have been fun this season. I think you said it earlier. They are a much different team to last season, or a different team. They got to still prove they're much different. But how are you feeling? Vibes 4 and 6.
Like you kind of just said. I mean, at least when I watch the Pistons now, for the most part, I'm having. Even if I'm frustrated, I'm still having fun because there's great moments even in the frustration. Like there's awesome moments through the bad. Whereas last year, there was just. I'll tell you a funny story. I was at a bar back in my hometown, and everybody knows I'm a huge Pistons fan, and nobody where I'm from really cares, even though it's Michigan. They're more football community, So I'm at the bar. Bartender flips on the Pistons game, and I was watching on my phone, and they're up. It was a game against Boston where they're up 26, and the whole entire bar just got to watch me melt down for the rest of the entire game. And I was like, I thought about that tonight weirdly, and I was like, I don't think that's going to happen too much this season with this team. Like, obviously tonight was a similar meltdown, but I don't think I'm going to have those, like, a lot of those nights where I'm just like, this is hopeless. This franchise is sell the team, blah, blah, all the most negative things you could have. I think at least they're fun, and I enjoy watching them through the frustration.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's actually, thinking about it, it's nice to be this frustrated about the team, but just about the actual game. Like that game, that moment, you're actually in it from start to finish. It feels like, apart from the Knicks game, that was the only time where the sell the team vibes have crept in a little bit. But every other game, like you're genuinely in it, and it's frustrating, but it's exciting, and you're not constantly like make a trade, fire the coach, like looking at the lottery odds. Like you're actually just, I feel like I'm just in every game, which I think is a kind of, that should be the baseline for the Pistons at this stage of the rebuild or whatever you want to call it. But it's, there's some beauty in that frustration.
I mean, frustration is much better than apathy. I'll tell you that much right now. I'd take frustration 100 times out of 100 over feeling like, hey, this team is just hopeless.
Yeah.
There's no hope.
Yeah. Oh, it's not even close. Yeah, absolutely. I think, look, I'm going to turn it to you. I was going to ask you about the Rockets game, but like before I let you go, final thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, just quick on the Rockets game. I mean, they're gonna come in fired up. I mean, they got thumped tonight by the Thunder, which is there's no shame in that. The Thunder are a really good team, but I mean, they're 5-4, and they're playing pretty good basketball overall, and they have a lot of, I guess, potential to hurt you matchup wise with a lot of speed on the wings, and obviously Sengun's gonna be a tough matchup with only having two guys that can eat fouls. But I think the Pistons can win that game if they play solid defense. They can't play defense like they did tonight and still win that game.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm with you. It's going to be a tough game. Honestly, like it's kind of similar to the Lakers game for me. Like they got the win the night before, like with the Brooklyn game, that was the win they needed. And then now they played Lakers with a bit less pressure on them and they got the win. It's kind of how I'm approaching this Rockets game. My expectations aren't that they'll win, but I just hope it's a good game.
No. Yeah, I'm definitely not. Definitely not sitting here saying like the Hornets game the other night or tonight. Like I expect them to win this game, but I can't see them winning it. Again, they have to play better defense because the one thing with the Rockets is that they're a pretty good defensive team. They're not really running teams out of the gym offensively. I mean, they played the Spurs a couple times and put it on them, but the Spurs are kind of a mess right now, honestly.
Yeah.
So I mean, the Rockets are a beatable team. They're not the Celtics. They're not the Cavs. They're not the Warriors right now. They're a good team, ascending team, but they're beatable. Like I said, they're probably in that range of 8-30, where I think any given night the Pistons can compete with them and beat them. It just depends on what Pistons team comes out.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on the defense as well. Like there was a stretch in that fourth where it was like Larry Nance had 2 wide open threes. I think is it David Roddy? He used to play for the Grizzlies, hit an open 3. I was just like, guys, what's going on? Trae Young at one point just found himself wide open at the free throw line. Just no one was there.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
wide open. Like there's just some missed rotations and that kind of thing. I think Cade, I even saw him lose it at one point, like yelling.
It was after that. It was after that play. He freaked out. He's like,
Yeah.
Stu, where are you? Like, where are you?
That was,
Yeah, I mean, yeah. In all fairness to the Pistons on those, I mean, I'd rather take Larry Nance or David Roddy shooting the ball than Jalen Johnson or Trae Young or some of those guys. Like, I don't know when Larry Nance became a proficient 3-point shooter. Maybe I missed it. But like his stroke looked very clean, very clean.
He didn't miss a shot either, so he's just having one of those nights.
Yeah, and that dunk was insane. That dunk was insane.
The pass was crazy as well on that from Trae.
Yeah.
All right, man. I'm going to get to some comments, guys, but I'm going to let Cody go. Thank you so much for joining. I think, is this the first time we've spoken about a win?
Yep.
Wow. How good is that?
We spoke after. Maybe we spoke after the Sixers game. Maybe we did.
Yeah, maybe we did. Maybe you came.
But I think it was quick.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it was like I was like last in the night. And you were like, I only got like 10 minutes or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, look, this has been fun, man. I'm still shocked they won. I didn't want to come up here and talk to you about a loss. The thought crossed my mind. I was like, I might have to tell Cody I can't do this stream. I'm gonna say some things on here I regret. But
I would have went scorched earth if they lost that game. But as a lot of famous football coaches say, never apologize for a win.
Yeah. I love it. Good way to finish, my man. Well, look, quickly tell the people where they can find you. Everyone, there's been some great comments in here supporting yourself. So always a pleasure to have you up here, man. But tell the people where they can find you.
Yep, no 906 on Twitter. I'll be continuing to tweet both positively and negatively, all caps sometimes when I'm really frustrated or really excited. But yeah, just keep plugging away there and then joining Jack as much as I can because it's always fun to get up here and like I say every stream, man, I want to hear from more people in the Pistons community. Yeah. Like obviously, selfishly, I love coming up here and talking with Jack because it's always fun. But I think there's more voices that need to be heard out there. So I encourage you guys. It's very free flowing, very relaxed. Jack does a great job of hitting points and allowing you to talk. So I think that's how I want to end it. Obviously, like and subscribe as well if you haven't. I'm sure everyone who's watching has, but like and subscribe.
You're a legend, Cody. Have a good night, man. Enjoy the win, and I'm sure we'll be talking very soon.
Yep.
All right, man. Catch you.
Catch you later, man.
All right. I'm just going to go through some comments here, guys. Sorry as well. Today's stream, I wasn't 100% sure I was going to be able to do this today. Just I have some other work things on after this. But so I didn't get much preparation in terms of getting a tweet out and that for people to come join. So apologies for that. But thank you so much for all the comments. I'm going to start from the top here. Janan Murray, shout out. I know you're an Aussie. THU issue tonight was turnovers, 3 for a guy who barely dribbles. That's fair. I think I missed that when I was reading out the stats before. Definitely fair. What a game. I agree, Derek. Guys, I think this has been the worst I've spoken after a game. I'm just rattled that they won. I really thought they were going to lose. You know how everyone chants Jared Goff now, even at Wings games? We need a chant for Cade. 100%. If he keeps playing like that and keeps closing the deal, he's going to get one for sure. I agree, Alan. My blood pressure is all over the place. Let's go, Vulture. Love it. Beastly Arrow. I think ugly game, nice finish. I'm going to say, I don't know about ugly win, but, I can't blame you for feeling that way. Yeah, mine is too. Seeing shout out. Yeah, I'm not much of a shouter at the games. I yell a little bit more. At home, not so much. But I can imagine a lot of fans are feeling the same way. What else do we have here? Game MVP goes to Tobias for hitting some wide open corner threes. He hit 2 tonight. 2. I couldn't believe it. He hit 1 in the first, and then I think he hit one with like 4 minutes to go. I'm not sure if it counts as a clutch 3 on the stats, but it was clutch for me just with the way he's been shooting. And I think those 2 corner threes are going to help him a lot. As we mentioned earlier, hit 5 tonight. I think Cade was the MVP for the way he finished the game, but Tobias was definitely right there with him. Yeah, I agree, Beastly Arrow. Some of those turnovers, yeah, mind-boggling. What else do we have here, guys? 100%. He was incredible in that last 2 minutes. I'm so happy for him, the team, and us fans and the discourse around Cade that he closed that game because, yeah, that turnover he had, the bounce pass, if he doesn't close the deal, I feel like that bounce pass is coming up a whole heap. What else? Oh, I missed this question from Derek. Sorry. If Ivy plays this way the whole year, would you give him an extension? And if so, how much? Yeah. So I actually spoke about this, I think, with Blake Silverman on the last stream. I think if he keeps up this play, you definitely give him an extension. We were discussing the value. I think we were talking like the Jalen Green type deal or that annual salary, not so much the 2 or 3 years he got, but like high 20s, I think, high 20 mil. Like, I know that sounds like a lot. Maybe he's like 25. I'm not the best with contracts. I'd be curious to hear what people think his annual salary should be, but I think you definitely give him an extension. And I don't think it would be a max. From Drake M. Most of the time, analytics say go for it, but people don't because they're scared of the risk. Lions are not. Okay, shout out to the Lions. There's another, you know what? The way Detroit fans get around Lions players is so cool to see. I can't wait till like the Pistons players get that kind of reception, but obviously they gotta earn that. Wow, so many comments, guys. Thank you so much for all the engagement. Pistons next. Trae Young is a modern day version of Harden. They can score great, but how they can score can be annoying as hell. Yeah, for sure. I think Harden actually annoys me a little bit more, but that, yeah, very similar in terms of what it's like to watch them. I agree. I think if the Pistons are in the play-in race, he's definitely in. And even if they're in 11th and their record's not putrid, I think he could get the nod. I say that without honestly looking at how all the other guards in the East are playing, but I think he's playing well enough. This team with Asar is no doubt a playing team. Certainly feels like that. We spoke about Asar and how much he could help Cade on the defensive end. I think, yeah, that's come up every stream, but yeah. It's starting to feel like this, the nerds. It's starting to feel like that. Not to end the show negatively, but I hope I'm wrong. But yeah, there's still no news on Assad, no official updates. It's still just with the Players Association. I'm gonna finish with this one. Ruby, shout out. My boyfriend was absolutely losing his mind and was thinking it was going to be Charlotte all over again. Yeah, we just spoke about that. I think that's why I'll finish this. That's why it was so key, I think, to find yourself in literally the same position as you were 48 hours ago and to win, I think is huge. And I think this team, every time they've had a tough loss like the Knicks or like the Hornets the other night, they've responded. I know they were 0-4 at the start, but those teams were all very tough. And they could have won all of those. But I think to see them now responding, I think they've won 4 out of their last 6. Does that sound right? 4 out of their last 6. They lose to Charlotte at the buzzer. So they could be 5-1. So I think that's a good way to close this out. But look, guys, once again, apologies for the shorter stream. I just have to wrap this one up a bit earlier today. We'll be back after the game against Houston on Sunday for the usual time. We'll go for an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, however long the show needs to go for. And as Cody mentioned, I would love to get some new people up here. Here's some new Pistons voices. There's so many great comments in here. If you're feeling up to it, please DM me. And like I always say, all I do is just shoot you a link. You just click on it and you just need a phone or computer. That's literally it. You can, and you're up here. You don't need a podcasting studio, a microphone, anything like that. You can just come up with your headphones or just your phone and join me and we can talk about Pistons. So hopefully we're back talking about a win over the Rockets on Sunday. Appreciate you all. Enjoy the win. And as always, go Pistons.